Hello and welcome. This is Paul Ryder, and in this video we're going to talk about trust your gut. And is it quite as straightforward as it might sound? All over social media today you can see videos and reels and memes saying trust your gut. Just trust your gut and you'll know. Well, actually, as a trauma therapist myself, trusting your gut isn't quite as straightforward as it might sound. You see, if none of us had any trauma, low self-esteem, low self-worth, anxiety, trusting your gut will be easy. What we have in ourselves is what I call the true self and the conditioned self. Now, if we were at total inner peace in every way, shape and form, we didn't have any projected anxieties, we got on well with everybody around us, and we always felt safe, trusting your gut would be very easy. But when we've had trauma, a quick disclaimer before we begin, the content or information in these videos is for educational and informational purposes only. It is your responsibility what you do with this information. If you are struggling or feeling overwhelmed, it is recommended that you seek professional, direct support specific to the area of your concern. And especially when we've been dominated or overwhelmed in whatever situation, it could be at home, it could be at school, it could be with people around us. What happens is, especially if it's been at home, is that we have that thought inside ourselves about what I want to do. We have autonomy or agency of what I want to do. But if that comes in conflict, especially in the family home with, say, dominating parents or a teacher maybe, what happens is that we think for ourselves, but then that goes against the ideas or wants of other people. So it could be that we think for ourselves and we make a decision on what we want to do, and we get told off or hit or punished or rejected in some way, shape and form. And that causes a huge amount of backlash. And then that causes trauma. Now, as a child, what will happen is that we have to protect our caregivers. And we will do that at all costs. And it's not some hocus pocus thing. It's a survival instinct. Because as a child, if we don't protect our caregivers, our survival instinct might freak out and say, well, if you don't protect these people and you don't keep it safe in the home, you could be in serious trouble. And if it comes down to a risk of physical survival or emotional survival will always take second place. Because you can survive with dysfunctional emotions, but you cannot survive without a physical body. So then if we take that back, imagine a journey that a person's going on. They were born into a world and they would have wanted to express themselves as their true self. So they did, and then they got punished for that. They thought for themselves, they were told they were wrong. They said something that was on their mind, and they got isolated and rejected and shouted at and told they were stupid. Any of the 6 emotional manipulative behaviours which I cover in my training. So then, as a survival instinct, that person might start to believe, if I think for myself, I'm going to get rejected. If I think for myself, I'm going to get punished. If I think for myself, I'm going to get told I'm stupid and laughed at and mocked. And then once that becomes a belief, if it becomes a trauma belief, it gets suppressed down into an area of the subconscious, which I call Pandora's box. Now, Pandora's box traumas can be suppressed away from the conscious mind, but still be used as a projectional process. And this might be if you've ever been in a situation where you know consciously that you're capable of doing something, but for some reason you feel insecure. You feel that you're not good enough in some way. You feel that you're worth less or you're going to get rejected, but you can't actually articulate why that is. That's usually, there's a suppressed trauma in Pandora's box projecting onto today, but because your conscious mind can't see in Pandora's box, that's why it feels, well, I've got this feeling, but I can't articulate as to why. And that's when the gurus will all jump up and say, well, if you've got this self-doubt today, is it real? And then consciously you might say, well, no, because you can't see in Pandora's box yet. So then the guru will just say, well, think positive, let it go, move forward, don't think about it. It doesn't work because Just by saying Pandora's box trauma rejections don't exist doesn't mean they stop. So back now to a person, say in their 20s or 30s or 40s, whatever age they might be. They were abused in some way, emotionally manipulated in some way when they were a child. Their autonomy was crushed. Every time they thought for themselves, they were punished. Every time they said something, they were mocked or laughed at, put down, rejected in some way. It suppressed itself down and formed a trauma belief, stored in Pandora's box to project onto today. That belief could be, if I think for myself, if I have autonomy, if I have agency, that means pain. So it's kind of like a yes or no, kind of binary. It means pain or it doesn't mean pain. And as we know now, the gut feeling is to rely on what we believe in ourselves. So the gut feeling's never going to go away. It's always there. That's the true self. But if we've been punished many times in our past for trusting our gut feeling or believing in a gut feeling, remember, that could be a trauma of, if I trust my gut, it means pain. And there's an aspect in the human mind that I call the protector self. And if the protector self assumes trusting your gut means pain, it will always move you away from that. So now when you get these gurus and they go online and say, trust your gut, just trust your gut, always trust your gut. You've got this, you know what's going on. I believe in you, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, what if a person's got a trauma response of trusting their gut, thereby giving all their power to the other person because that was the safest option they had when they were in that very difficult situation. So as you can see now, that phrase, just trust your gut, might not be as straightforward as it sounds. And if you yourself have ever wanted to trust your gut and you find yourself very reluctant to do that, or giving all of your power to another person, and it doesn't seem to make sense, why would you do that? You're a very intelligent adult. Why are you giving all your power to everybody else? Although you may not consciously be able to realize it at the moment, it could be a trauma response that's hidden away from your conscious mind. You see, what you're going to find online today, as I'm sure you know, what happens with these guru mentality, they simplify very complex areas. And usually because they want the fame and fortune of sounding really cool. They give these top tips and top tactics, which might sound really logical, but they're missing a huge part of the mind. It'd be easy just to say, trust your gut. But if you've got a trauma response in there, meaning trust your gut means immeasurable amounts of pain or past rejection or humiliation in some way, your protector self's always going to keep you safe. And it's vital, if you are experiencing that right now, to look within your mind and ask yourself, how does it really feel about trusting your gut? And if it feels that you're racked with self-doubt or feel that you're going to get abused in some way for trusting your gut because of things you may have experienced, then you need to come to terms with that. That might take time. That might take a lot of focus. But start by seeing the reality of what your real experiences are. So I hope that helps you see a little bit more clearer on if you have a challenging time trusting your gut feeling, you know inside what you want to say, you know inside what you want to do, but you find yourself doing everything other than that. Or it could be that, you know, when you think about trusting your gut, you don't know what your gut is because it could have been so painful to even think for yourself in the past because of what might have happened if you did, that your mind has just totally shut that part down. It won't have gone away, but it might have suppressed it from you, again, because it's trying to keep you safe. So what I'd suggest is get your journal out, write down everything that we've discussed in this video today and expand on it. Ask yourself 10 questions, 20 questions. Really dig into this area of the gut feeling and why it's not quite as straightforward as it sounds. See you in the next video.